When you're mocking and stubbing with RSpec, there are a variety of expectations that exist for the objects that you're mocking and stubbing. This episode picks up on the previous screencast episode about RSpec mocking and stubbing, but you don't necessarily have had to watch that to understand this, but you should know what mocking and stubbing are in RSpec. And so here's an example where we're saying expect this class payment gateway to receive this method call, this class method call, called process payment with these arguments and return the success symbol. And return is really useful. The block syntax or just calling and return, both are functionally the same. And if we run those tests, it works. If I undo that and run the old test, it works. So it's really a personal preference for style, what you prefer. And return is clear but verbose, but the block syntax is a little more concise. So what you want to do is up to you. Now, and return is really useful, but there's also there are other expectations that exist that are really useful to know. Things like and raise error, or just and raise, and throw. Those are all really useful ones. Let me really quick see if there's any other ones, because I have some notes. And throw, and raise. Oh, and yield for blocks. But we won't. And yield, once you get the others, if you have a thing that yields a block, then that's pretty clear too. Just wanted to check my notes really quick. But let's focus on and throw and raise. So let's say, let's add a context here, and we'll say, so here, when the payment processes unsuccessfully, we say it receives it and returns the failure symbol key, and the app does some stuff, right? It sets the state to payment failed. It does not send the order success email. Let's say when the payment processing raises an error, we'll say allow payment gateway to receive process payment, and instead of returning the symbol, we'll say and raise. We'll just say standard error, but this would be a different error, right? You would like either know from the library, or you would test it out in IRB. You would say standard error, and you can pass a message, right? That's like, oh no. If we run that, there's no it, so it doesn't do anything yet. But let's say we'll say it does not raise. And we'll have a failing test there. So if we call subject.checkout, call that and run it, you see what happens? Our test fails because standard error oh no was raised. You can also do standard error.new and pass that in too. But however you want to instantiate your error is really up to you and your needs. But it's raising, but we want it to not raise. So what we can do is rescue from it. And this and raise mocking behavior is really nice, because if you're writing Ruby code that's calling out to another library, or code that someone else has written or you've written, and it has the potential to raise an error, you need to be able to have the code that's consuming it react accordingly if you wanted to do something different than raise itself through. So we would say, like, let's make oh no be like, oh no, gateway down. Then here, we would just use the normal rescue behavior in Ruby, and we would rescue standard error. Let's actually use a different error, because standard error is really generic. We'll say gateway error, and let's run that. It fails because we don't have a gateway error, so let's we'll define that, and we can just do it here. You would put it in your actual code. But for our purposes, we'll put it here. It has standard error. Okay, now we run it. It works, and it just says gateway down. So here we would say rescue from gateway error, and now it doesn't raise. So woohoo, that's great. Maybe we should actually put gateway error elsewhere. We'll just put it in lib, and we'll call it gateway error.rb. By it inheriting from standard error gives it the message class, so you like have that automatically. Let's see what happens now. We'll just require gateway error. So we need that. Run it. Okay, our tests are green. That's good. Now let's say it does some other stuff, right? We'll say, we'll copy some of our other expectations, like it sets the state to payment failed. And here we could even say expect subject.checkout. We don't even need that because it's like you could say expect to not raise error, but RSpec doesn't want you to do that because, and also you have to do a block there. That's like a different level of testing similarly where you can pass a block into expect and what's in there. Wow, that's interesting. Usually it complains about that, but oh yeah, it doesn't like that. So you can just do expect it to not raise error. So that's actually a good expectation. But if you keep that there, I'll run that again and I won't get away so quick. It says it risks false positive since any other error would cause it to pass, and you likely don't want that to happen. So it's risky, but if you just say it doesn't raise an error, that's actually really helpful. So we'll say it does not raise through. And then it sets the state to payment failed. And then we can also say it does not send the success email. And now that all passes. So that's a really good way to do that. Oh, it doesn't pass yet because we want to say state is equal to payment failed. And that's like the code, right? That we just like test drove that out. So if the payment gateway is down, it doesn't send the email and it sets the state to payment failed. And that's and raise. And raise is really nice. You could also use and throw, where it's like you could say, I'm not going to commit this for the code for the episode, but you could say and throw. It's not too often I see throws happen with Ruby, like in actual code. But you could say and throw, and then it says uncaught throw gateway error. You can then catch gateway error. I actually don't know how you catch it, Ruby. Ruby catch throw. Let's see what happens. Catch do. I guess you would do catch do gateway error. Guess you would do that. I've never done that before. That introduces a whole new world of errors. Let's just ignore it. If you do catching and throwing, let me know. Because I've never done it. But it does support throwing. Oh my gosh. That's a really unsatisfying end to the episode. But just wanted to share that and raise exists. So does and throw, and so does and yield, and you can use those accordingly when you're mocking and stubbing. All right, thanks again. See ya. Bye.